Carolina Hurricanes, off-season moves to conquer the Stanley Cup. The Carolina Hurricanes just made a statement that has the hockey world buzzing, and it might be their most controversial gamble yet. After years of heartbreak and almost there moments, Carolina's front office decided to go all in this summer, dropping massive contracts on forward Nikolaj Ehlers and defenseman K'Andre Miller. But here's where it gets controversial. Are these the right moves? Or did they just mortgage their future for players who might not be the missing pieces? Let's dive into what NHL.com calls an in-depth roster analysis. But we're going to ask the tough questions nobody else is asking. Carolina has been knocking on the door for what feels like forever. 7 straight playoff appearances sounds impressive, until you realize they've reached the Eastern Conference Final 3 times, 2019, 2023, 2025. But haven't sniffed the Stanley Cup final since their magical 2006 championship run. That's nearly 2 decades of coming up short when it matters most. This summer, general manager Eric Tulsky decided enough was enough. The Hurricanes became one of the NHL's most aggressive organizations, making moves that set shockwaves through the league. On July 1st, they pulled off a blockbuster trade with the New York Rangers, acquiring restricted free agent defenseman K'Andre Miller before immediately locking him up with an 8-year, $60 million deal. That's $7.5 million per season for those keeping track. But they weren't done yet. 2 days later, they landed what many considered the crown jewel of free agency, Nikolaj Ehlers. The dynamic forward left Winnipeg after a decade to sign a 6-year, $51 million contract with Carolina, earning himself $8.5 million annually. I would say our goal this summer was to bring in at least 1 high-end defenseman and 1 high-end forward and try and shore up those groups, Tulsky explained. I feel like we did that. And this is the part most people miss. These weren't just any acquisitions. Carolina was directly challenging the Florida Panthers, who have dominated the Eastern Conference by reaching 3 consecutive Cup finals and winning back-to-back championships. The Hurricanes are essentially saying, "We're coming for your throne." But here's where the story gets really interesting. Last season, Carolina faced what many teams would consider a devastating blow. They lost nearly 1/3 of their entire roster, including crucial forwards Jake Guentzel and Teuvo Teravainen, plus defensive stalwarts Brett Pesce and Brady Shea. The exodus was so severe that even head coach Rod Brind'Amour admitted his doubts. After Carolina's 5-game conference final loss to Florida, Brind'Amour made a stunning confession. "With the pieces that left this organization, I was like, I don't think we're making playoffs." Yet somehow, this supposedly depleted team finished second in the ultra-competitive Metropolitan Division with a 47-35 record and battled all the way to the conference final, only falling to the eventual Cup champions. For most franchises, that would be celebrated as an overachievement. For Carolina, it felt like failure. Tulsky, now in his 2nd season as GM after spending 4 years as assistant GM, perfectly captured this organizational mindset. We have raised the bar year after year after year, and it is a really good thing to be in a place where being one of the Final 4 teams can be viewed as a disappointment. Obviously, I'd rather get past that, but I'd much rather be here than in a place where it's viewed as exciting if we make the playoffs and go out in round 1. This culture of championship or bust expectations is exactly what attracted Ehlers to Carolina. After spending 10 seasons with Winnipeg, the 29-year-old was drawn to the Hurricanes' relentless playing style and unwavering commitment to excellence. "You go to Carolina, and you know exactly that they're going to be ready to play," Ehlers said. "They're going to come out hard, and they're going to keep stressing you out until they get the puck back, and to now be on the other side of that will be pretty fun." The Hurricanes have never been shy about making bold moves, even when they backfire spectacularly. Remember their blockbuster trade for Mikko Rantanen from Colorado on January 24th? That deal fell apart when Rantanen, facing unrestricted free agency, refused to sign long-term with Carolina. Most teams would lick their wounds and move on quietly. Not Carolina. They immediately flipped Rantanen to Dallas on March 7th, turning a potential disaster into a goldmine. The return package included promising 22-year-old forward Logan Stankoven. conditional first-round picks in both 2026 and 2028, plus additional third-round selections in 2026 and 2027. Stankoven proved his worth immediately, recording 9 points, 5 goals, 4 assists, in just 19 regular season games with Carolina, earning himself an 8-year, $48 million contract starting in 2026-27. Now, let's talk about what these new additions bring to the table. Ehlers isn't just fast, he's electric. His 63 points, 24 goals, 39 assists in 69 games last season demonstrate the offensive firepower Carolina desperately needed. Meanwhile, Miller represents the future of their defensive core, which is undergoing major reconstruction after losing veterans Brent Burns, signed with Colorado, and Dmitry Orlov, signed with San Jose. The 25-year-old Miller cost Carolina a second-round pick in 2026, a conditional first-round pick in 2026 or 2027, and defenseman Scott Morrow. Thanks to their Rantanen-trade windfall, the Hurricanes had plenty of draft capital to work with. Miller seems genuinely excited about joining Carolina's high-octane system. I'm super excited for the style that they play, getting up and down the ice in a fast motion, making plays through the neutral zone to get the pucks to the forwards with speed, and let them do their things, but also joining the rush and trying to create, Miller explained. I think that's something I've built my game around the last couple of years, and only getting better. So it's great. But here's the million-dollar question that nobody wants to ask. Did Carolina just make the right moves? Or did they panic and overpay for players who might not solve their real problems? Think about it. They've had talent before. They've had depth before. They've had great coaching and systems before. Yet they keep falling short in the biggest moments. Is adding Ehlers and Miller really going to change their playoff DNA, or are they just expensive Band-Aids on deeper wounds? And let's be brutally honest. Florida didn't just beat Carolina last season. They dominated them in 5 games. The Panthers have been to 3 straight Cup finals for a reason. They have championship experience, championship composure, and championship depth. Can 2 new faces, no matter how talented, really bridge that gap? What do you think? Are the Hurricanes finally ready to break through, or did they just set themselves up for another expensive disappointment? Have they addressed their real issues, or are they still missing crucial pieces? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is far from over. Carolina Hurricanes top 5 prospects, Nikishin, Nadeau, and more, 2024-25 season. Carolina Hurricanes fans, brace yourselves. The next wave of talent is already crashing onto the NHL shore, and it might be even bigger than the last one. While most headlines focus on the current roster chasing another deep playoff run, the organization has quietly built a prospect pool so deep it could make rival GMs lose sleep. But here's where it gets controversial. Some of these kids might be ready to steal veteran jobs sooner than anyone expected. Below is a no-fluff, all-facts look at the 5 names you'll be chanting in rallies sooner rather than later. We'll break down how each player was acquired, what they just accomplished, and, most importantly, when they'll realistically push for a full-time roster spot. And yes, we'll sprinkle in the spicy takes that will have you arguing in the comments. 1. Alexander Nikishin, defenseman, the Russian freight train. Retention hook. Imagine a 6'4", 216-pound defenseman who skates like the wind and thinks the game faster than most forwards. That's Nikishin. How he got here. Drafted 69th overall in 2020, Nikishin spent the last 4 seasons punishing KHL competition. In 2024-25, he ripped off 17 goals and 46 points in 61 games for SKA St. Petersburg. Second among all KHL blue liners in goals, 3rd in total points. Playoff cameo. He arrived in Raleigh after the KHL season ended, too late for regular season NHL action. Yet when injury struck the blue line in the playoffs, Nikishin stepped in and logged nearly 16 minutes a night, recording 1 assist in 4 games. Translation. He didn't look like a deer in headlights. He looked like he belonged. Scouting lens. Hurricanes assistant GM Darren York says the game slowed down for Nikishin almost immediately, a scary phrase for opponents. His aggressive, up-ice style mirrors Carolina's swarm and strike system perfectly. Controversy alert. Some analysts argue that Nikishin's offensive numbers are inflated by SKA's star-studded roster. Others counter that his 200-foot game and physical edge will translate regardless. Which side are you on? Projected NHL arrival, opening night 2025-26. Yes, this season. 2. Bradley Nadeau, forward, the main sniper, retention hook. A 20-year-old who just dropped 32 goals in the AHL as a teenager. Let that sink in. How he got here. First-round pick, 30th overall, in 2023. After one electric freshman year at the University of Maine, 19-year-old leading scorer in the nation, Nadeau turned pro. 2024-25 resume. 64 games with Chicago in the AHL, 32 goals, 58 points. He then suited up for Carolina's final 2 regular season games, notching his first NHL point. That's not a cameo. That's a teaser trailer. Scouting lens. At 5'11", he won't bulldoze anyone, but his release is already NHL caliber. York admits the goal scoring took a little bit to get going, yet 32 tallies later it's clear the kid adapts fast. Controversy alert. Should Carolina fast-track Nadeau to a top 6 role, or let him marinate on the third line to learn 200-foot responsibility? Debate away. Projected NHL arrival. Training camp battle. Expect him on the roster this fall. 3. Nikita Artamonov, forward, the teenage record-breaker retention hook. He just shattered Kirill Kaprizov's under-20 KHL goal record. Let me repeat, he beat Kaprizov's mark. How he got here? Second-round steal, 50th overall in the 2024 draft. 2024-25 resume. 22 goals and 39 points in 63 KHL games for Nizhny Novgorod, both team highs. His 22 goals set a new benchmark for players under 20 in the KHL. Scouting lens, Artamonov's forechecking motor never quits. And his off-puck movement creates tap-in chances. York loves the intensity and tenacity, code words for he annoys the hell out of opponents. Contract reality. Signed in the KHL through 2026-27. Carolina can't rush him, but they can salivate. Controversy alert. Is it worth burning a year of his ELC in 2027-28, or should the Canes let him dominate overseas until he's 22? Sound off below. Projected NHL arrival. 2027-28 season. Mark your calendars. 4. Felix Unger-Sorum, forward. The World Junior Wizard retention hook. 10 points in 7 games at the 2025 World Juniors. Sweden's best player not named Bedard. Okay, Bedard wasn't there, but you get it. How he got here. Third-round pick, 62nd overall in 2023. 2024-25 resume. Modest on paper. 5 goals, 20 points in 61 AHL games. But context matters. He was 19, adjusting to North American ice, and still flashed elite vision. Scouting lens. York calls him an elite offensive thinker when facing peers his age. The next step is translating that creativity against men. Physical project. Needs to add muscle to survive board battles. The organization's strength coaches are already on the case. Controversy alert. Some fans want him back in Sweden for one more year of big minutes. Others say the AHL grind accelerates growth. Which path would you choose? Projected NHL arrival, 2026-27 season. Next year if he bulks up fast. 5. Dominik Bedinka, defenseman, the Swedish hybrid retention hook. A 6'3" right shot D who can walk the blue line and close gaps in the neutral zone. Carolina's pipeline is loaded on the left. Bedinka balances the scales. How he got here. Second-round pick, 34th overall in 2024. 2024-25 resume. Split time between Malmö in the SHL, 235 and 49 games, and a brief AHL cameo, 2 regular season plus 1 playoff game. Numbers aren't eye-popping, but the toolkit is obvious. Scouting lens. Smooth skater, crisp first pass, and a willingness to jump into the rush. Needs to add 10 to 15 pounds of muscle without losing mobility. Controversy alert. Is Bedinka the next hidden gem, Or will he top out as a third pair puck mover? Your hot take goes in the comments. Projected NHL arrival, 2026-27 season. Next year, if his development stays on track. Final thought. Carolina's prospect cupboard isn't just deep, beats unfair. 2 defensemen who skate like forwards, 2 wingers who score in bunches, and a center-wing Swiss Army knife in Unger Sorum. The debate isn't whether these players will help the Hurricanes, it's whose roster spot they'll take first. So which prospect are you most excited to see in red and black? Are you Team Nikishin, plug and play now, or Team Artamonov? Wait for the Kaprizov 2.0 payoff. Drop your take below. Agree, disagree, or roast us entirely. We're here for it.